As you probably know, recently I've been to Switzerland, and there I had the chance to pump with some of the best pump foilers in the entire world. And I'm not even joking. I pumped with Seb Soji. You probably don't know him, but you've probably seen him because he's the guy that always appears in every single Yvonne's video on YouTube. Then I pumped with Balz Müller, the crazy windsurfer. I think that he doesn't need an introduction. And then I pumped with Robert, that crazy little young kid doing all this incredible stuff, freestyle on foil. And also the Ketos team, incredible riders. And of course, as a good YouTuber, as a good reporter, I took notes and now I'm packing all the knowledge that I gathered in those 3 days in this video. So stick until the end because after this video, 9 out of 10, you're gonna improve your technique like by 50%. The first tip that I have for you is the feet placement. Yes, we always talk about the feet placement, back foot on top of the mast, and front foot shoulder width apart, more towards the front, and then maybe you can take it a bit more towards the back. But I've never thought about how your feet are in the vertical axis. So if you have like the board in front of you, then how your feet are positioned on the vertical axis, right? On the y-axis. Because they shouldn't be in the middle. And I've noticed that every single pro has a little bit of a wider stance. Why that? Because so you need to rotate your shoulder a little bit towards the direction where you're going, of course, when you're pumping, right? That's why if you place, for example, your back foot, in my case, is gonna be the left foot because I'm goofy, more towards the edge, more towards the left edge of the board, and your my right foot, my front foot, more towards the right edge of the board, is gonna be easier to rotate my shoulder towards the front. And this way, it's gonna be easier to evenly spread the workload on both my legs. That's a super small adjustment, but can really relieve a little bit of effort at each pump. So try that. Instead of placing your feet exactly in the center, in the middle of the board, try to spread them a little bit. Again, if this is the board, right, you wanna spread your feet a little bit. So for example, if you are goofy, you're gonna spread them like this. If you're regular, you're gonna spread them like this. Hopefully you understood that. And yeah, it's probably also a matter of stability. You are more stable on the board. It's more natural to rotate your shoulder towards the front. And because, you know, I watched some of the recordings, and in my case, when my feet were exactly in the middle of the board, I had the tendency to fix it, to keep steady my front leg and then just pump with my back leg. And of course, you shouldn't do that because otherwise you get tired quickly. You're not efficient. So try that. It's gonna be very helpful, I believe. The second tip that I have for you is kind of a consequence of the first one. I mean, they are kind of tightened together, which is use both legs evenly. Again, if you have a look at my recordings, sometimes, especially if I'm tired, I have this tendency that I lock my front leg and then I'm just pumping with my back leg. Or I lock my back leg and I'm just pumping with my front leg, just to try to go on. And maybe you can keep the speeds, but for sure you cannot gain height, because if you're not hopping, if you're not sloppy, if you're not relaxed, you really cannot gain height and you're gonna burn out. Because if you lock one of your legs, then you're gonna just use the other one and you're gonna burn out very, very soon. This is not an efficient way to pump. That's why you should always remind yourself that you have to make the movement as similar as possible to a squat. It's not gonna be a squat because still you have to have this little delay between front leg and the back leg when you pump, otherwise you cannot give like the wave. But keep in mind that you should always spread the effort evenly in your legs. The first tip, if you implement the first tip, that's gonna help already, but remind yourself that, you know, I think that it could help is to remind yourself to not go inside with your back leg, because if your back knee goes inside, you're not gonna be using evenly your legs. You're not gonna evenly spread the workload on both your legs. So try to, again, to have this squat movement in mind, so that you can translate it when you're pumping. Okay, so keep this in mind, because that's super important to be efficient and pump longer. The third tip that I have for you is often overlooked, because we are so focused on keeping the height on the mast that we forget about the speed, because the speed is the first factor if you want to stay up on foil and to be efficient. And of course, the more speed you have, the easier it's going to be to get higher on the mast. And if you have a look at the pros, when they're pumping, they're always seeking for speed. Before they even seek for height on the mast, they are seeking for speed. So keep this in mind and try to gain speed as soon as possible as you hop on the board, and then just keep it. Because the more you can keep that speed, that cruising speed, the more efficient you're going to be. The higher on the mast you're going to stay. I've seen this especially with Seb Soji. You can see from the recordings that he's aggressive. He's seeking for speed. He's in this forward direction. He's projected forward. He's seeking speed. He's fast, especially when he's pumping against the current. It might seem that you're gonna waste more energy, but that's not the case, because you waste energy when you lose speed. So if you can spend a bit more effort, you can invest a bit more effort into keeping that speed, into seeking for a high speed, then you're not gonna lose speed to gain speed. You know what I mean, right? You understand that? I hope you get the point. You know the fourth one. All pros have one thing in common. They are all spending a ton of time in the water. They are out nearly every day. If not every day, every other day. But they are in the water 2 to 3 to 4 hours every session. That makes a difference. I know that not everybody has the possibility to spend so much time in the water, but if you really want to improve, if you really want to get to achieve a nice level, that's what it takes. You need to be out there as much as you can. There is another thing that they all have in common, which is that they're always trying new stuff. If they learn something, they master something, they keep doing that thing, but still they're always striving for something more, for a new trick, for a new distance record, for a new wave record. They're always striving for something. They're always trying new stuff, and they're failing in the meantime in doing so. So we should learn from that. We should never stop learning new stuff, and we shouldn't be discouraged if we fail, because even then, even at the top level, even at 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever that is, they're still failing because they are challenging themselves with new stuff. So do the same. The sixth tip is extreme naturalness. I don't even know if that's a word, but I believe you got the point, right? So that's kind of a consequence of spending a ton of time in the water. But you will notice that they're so natural, especially in the start. They're doing everything in such a, smooth way. They're so smooth in everything they do. And we should try to achieve the same. Extreme relaxation, a lot of confidence, a lot of focus. That's very important. And that's all it takes to achieve this naturalness, this relaxation in all you're doing. And if you can achieve that, you're gonna increase a lot your success rate in the start and your distance, because the more relaxed you are, the further you can go. The last tip is specifically from Robert. He gave me an incredibly valuable tip, which is stick to one set until you become so bloody good with that set that you can pump any other set. Again, these tips are all connected to each other, and if you stick to one set, you're gonna become super natural with it. It's gonna be your baby. It's gonna be like walking. You have your legs, so you know how it feels like walking. And if you would use like someone else's legs, that's a kind of a weird, creepy example, but imagine that, right? If you always change, the length of your legs, you kind of have to learn from scratch to run, let's say, for example. So stick to one set, one single set, don't even change the stab, until you become so good at it that you can do everything with that set, and then you can try new stuff, switch to a faster set, and all these kind of things. And in these notes, maybe you're wondering, so what set should I get to stick to? Well, just don't miss the next video, because I'm gonna officially present my new set, which is, I believe, right now the best that you can get probably in the market. I hope this was valuable as much as it was for me. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and do not miss the next video.